part-time, ladies and gentlemen, isn't it? It is part-time because it turned out to be, although I wasn't expecting it to be, it turned out to be developing your creative practice day, didn't it? And of course, neither of us got it. Um, so I decided that it would be a good idea to have a look through my last 8 years of rejected Arts Council applications and read through them. It's going to go on for a while, again, I'm afraid. And I apologize for the electric fan, but it's rather hot here on the sixth floor. Um, so we're going to read my failed Arts Council applications and other applications from the last 8 years. And Lottie here, who is a brilliant performer, can't perform, alas, because what Lottie has to do is edit Mahogany Opera Group's Laurence Osborn's The Mother, so we can pay the rent.
It's alright, it looks like a last one through film.
It does, it's like Dogville, it's miraculous. So I'm basically just going to head straight into it, and it's going to go on for a long time. I don't mind if you go, you can come back, it's going to go on for a while, but what I would ask for is particularly your recommendations as to why they are so bad, and what could be done to improve them. And this isn't for me, this is for the wider public. I'm reading these for the wider public, you know, for anyone who is working on an Arts Council application. They can listen to this, and they can find out how not to make an Arts Council or anything else application. So here we go. 2 minutes on the intro, that's pretty tight. Wow. Right. The project for which I am applying is to create a body of experimental sound works based around the game of chess in collaboration with local sound designer Andrew Dickinson, aka the Travelling Mongoose, to go towards the score for the new puppet production from master puppeteer and director Patrick Sims, The Old Man of the Mountain, which premieres in Avignon in 2012, presented by Patrick's new company, Les Ontlierclasts, Marionettes. The production will be a remarkable multidisciplinary piece of theatre, opera, post-human and popular, piece of theatre, Hassan Sabbah's training program for assassins of the space age, a sci-fi Persian puppet video game. The score will be part composed by remarkable Iranian composer Ata Ebtekar, myself, and Andrew Dickinson, using various methods of transcribing games of chess, particularly those played by Garry Kasparov versus the Deep Blue Computer, a recurring theme throughout the concept of the production, and using these games as the starting points for a body of experimental compositions to be woven into the fabric of the overall piece. We will work between archaic and modern technologies, from the pianola to MIDI and the combination of the two. The pianola will be one of the fundamental starting points of our research. We intend to open up the process by transcribing the shapes of chess games directly onto piano rolls, then running them through the machine. Part of the process will also be the creation of an interface whereby MIDI can be mapped to piano rolls and vice versa. We aim to produce a large and exploratory series of works, which can then be passed over to the production team for selection and assimilation into the stage work. We have agreed with Patrick Sims that we will retain ownership of all remaining works, which will then be uploaded to the internet as a free Creative Commons license archive and a PDF document of text and documentary images detailing the processes involved in the work's creation. The project is vitally important to my artistic development. I have previously worked with Patrick Sims once before on the score to the puppet opera La Pousse de Neige, which premiered in Marseille, November 2009. This work will consolidate and extend the creative success of our first collaboration, but equally will move my work into new and exciting areas. I am fascinated by the idea of modified aleatoric music. That is, music which begins at chance operations but then goes on to be modified, fragmented, used as the basis for new ideas, the interaction of chance with creative consciousness and discipline. For my new collaborator, the project will open up his first opportunity to work within theatre. His previous work has spanned sound design and puppetry, field recordings, animation and film. This will be his first opportunity to work with puppetry, and also within the wider world of European avant-garde art. Andrew and I have worked together closely in the past and regularly over the last 10 years, but usually on projects where the budget is not adequate for a full and detailed, close collaboration. This would provide a long-awaited opportunity to interact intensely on a project that fascinates us both. The project also opens up what I believe is a vitally important area in the world's contemporary political shape, the communication and interaction of European and Middle Eastern artists. I'm hugely excited to hear what final shapes the score created by myself, Andrew, and Ata Ebtekar, to me one of the most fascinating of Persian composers, will take. The premiere of this work will take place in 2012 at La Chartreuse, Avignon, and will tour internationally after the opening as part of Les Only-Class Marionette's regular touring program, which comes with its own promotion and marketing devices. This is a rare instance of a project on which I don't have to directly engage with the marketing, but judging by the large amount of public awareness of Patrick Sims' previous productions, I feel safe in the knowledge that the work will be disseminated to a wide and truly international public. For me, on a professional basis, one of the vital facets of this kind of work is the opportunity to present my work and also my collaborators to a completely different audience to those already familiar with it. My audience generally is the experimental music Creative Commons audio crowd, but when Le Pouce de Neige premiered, I saw the vast potential in theater scores for the dissemination of my work to a vastly different public. You will hear the work and interpret it in fundamentally different ways. The work will not be used within the fabric. The work not used within the fabric of the theatre piece will, as mentioned above, be included in a downloadable Creative Commons archive. This work will be marketed and promoted through my website and creative networking sites, plus the automatic marketing of inclusion on notable and popular sound archive websites. It's like time travel back to the early days of the internet.
Is that the whole proposal?
It's so nice. Oh no, it goes on. It goes on forever. But this is the first. This is going to go on for a long time. I'm very sorry.
To make their website better.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Our initial starting point would be a visit to Avignon or Marseille, depending upon Patrick Sims' location at that point. Wouldn't that be nice? For a series of planning meetings looking at potential avenues down which to take the work, and also to more deeply integrate our thinking into the complex thematic structure in Patrick's projected piece. Upon our return, the intention would be to embark upon a proverbial voyage of discovery, beginning with no fixed ideas of the sounds we are to create. In many ways, the intention of this project is to get away from the kind of composition where we create the sound we imagine to a composition where we work with sounds that are produced from processes. Working in our regular studio, we will experiment with different methodologies by which the structure, shape, procession, and rhythm of different chess games can be transcribed and interpreted as sound. In the process, attempting to recreate our perceptions of what music can be and how it works. We intend in many ways to treat the whole process as a game in itself, but a game of surprise and the unexpected, and how the unexpected can be shaped into a myriad forms. The project will run according to the following structure. Phase 1, June to September 2010. Gathering of materials and development of methodologies, a process of data accumulation, creation of different methods for recording and transcribing the game of chess into musical frameworks, and the development of a system for the rapid passing of MIDI to pianola rolls. Phase 2, September 2010 to February 2011. Methodologies and practice, the development of a body of experimental aleatoric musical works in which the methodologies developed in Phase 1 are set into motion with raw unedited results recorded, transcribed, and archived. Phase 3, February to June 2011. Refinement of materials, the forming of the raw materials from Phase 2 into musical works, editing and reforming these works into arrangements of electroacoustic music. Phase 4, June to September 2011. Assimilation, the works will be assimilated into the score of The Old Man of the Mountain by Patrick Sims in association with Andrew and myself, in combination with the sound works from Patrick and Ata Ebtekar. Phase 5, June to September 2011, documentation and archive. All remaining works unused in the work will be ordered, mastered, and uploaded as an experimental archive on the WFMU Free Music Archive and archive.org as Creative Commons licensed audio. We will also be producing a downloadable book about the progression of the above phases to accompany and explain the archive and its assimilation into the theatre piece. The premiere of The Old Man of the Mountain will take place in 2012. The overall budget for The Old Man of the Mountain is in the region of 150,000 Great British pounds. The money is provided by le Equinox, Scène Nationale Châteauroux, Le Chartreuse, Symphonie Dramatic Writing, Theatre Massalia, Marseille, Theatre de la Criée, Marseille, Festin National Montluçon. The initial seed of my working on this project came after the premiere of my first collaboration with Patrick Le Pouce de Neige in Marseille. Unfortunately for me, at this time, the composition budget had already been spoken for through a residency for Atta Ebtekar at Le Chartreuse. Determined to make this collaboration continue, Patrick and I decided the correct course of action would be for me to seek the funds for my participation separately. As a full-time freelance artist, it is impossible for me to work on any sizable project nowadays for free. Within the budget, I have applied for artist fees of £2,500 each for myself and Andrew, which reflects the approximate amount of time we will work on this project. Certainly not full-time over the duration, but as a fairly large portion of our working hours. Within this project, from our side, there is not a lot of expense necessary for materials. However, I have put in 200 Great British pounds for the construction of piano rolls, a large number of which we will need to produce throughout the duration. Finally, I have added travelling expenses, initially for our first visit to Patrick, then to pay our way to the opening of the piece in 2012. Success in this project will be measured from a number of perspectives: the level of experimentation and exploration and how it affects our aesthetic practice, the assimilation of our works into the puppet piece, and the final presentation of the online archive. This is a project in which I personally would like to see my compositional practice expanded, even reinvented, creating works that move on from my past works into new and unexplored territory. This, for myself and Andrew, will be one of the main aspects by which we measure the project's success. It is a more directly experimental project than anything we have recently been able to work upon, and the project's success in many ways will be measured by the scale and scope of how far we push the exploratory processes. All of the processes of this work will be analytically detailed in the documentation PDF, which will be available for download with the Sound Archive. This, as well as serving as an explanatory document, will also be full of evaluative descriptions of how we felt the project transpired. We will also provide a full written evaluation and documentation pack upon completion of the work with the activity report. I am writing to inquire about a heritage-based audio web project incorporating research, education, creative workshops, radio broadcasts, podcasts, a website, and an LP. The project is a series of audio pieces concerned with the history and heritage of British comedy, from the Middle Ages to Shakespeare through to Grimaldi and the English pantomime tradition and the nonsense worlds of Lewis Carroll and Edward Lear, into music hall, variety, and ending in the mid-20th century, of course. The partner organisation would be the Dartington-based community radio station Sound Art Radio, which would also host the workshops and broadcast the pieces. The pieces would combine all the elements of radio, spoken word, sound collage, music, sound effects. Each work will have a unique style and approach to the subject, some leaning more towards dramatization, some to documentary, and some more collage-based. I'm aware of the processes of application, as I did begin an application for another project years ago, but for various reasons the whole thing never materialized. However, I need to change the organization. I can apply on behalf of Sound Art Radio, and I'm unsure how to do this in the online application portal. Could you help? I'm registered on this email address. Before God needed to be invented, there were people. And before there was language, there was song. And before there was song, there was utterance. The vocal cords comprising the first musical instrument. It was not an intelligible word, more like a baby's gurgles, scream, grunt, or holler, an attempt to imitate or communicate with oneself or animals by imitating Their calls are one's surroundings, the howl of winds through trees. The yodel is wrapped up in a tangle of emotions, awe, joy, angst, which occurs at the confluence of nature and mankind, the boundary between inner and outer, between voice breath and expanded consciousness. The precise location may vary, but it often returns to somewhere between voice and brain box. Bart Plantenga, Yodeling Hi-Fi, University of Wisconsin Press. ULIAT, an outdoor performance in collaboration with community vocal groups, volunteers and children from across Dorset, using the techniques of solo and polyphonic yodeling to reflect the landscape and history of the Dorset Ridgeway as ancient ceremonial ground, and the notion of hollering, wordless singing as a representation of man's earliest communication with the outside world and himself. Taking the idea of the yodel and holler as man's cry of self-awareness into the vastness of the universe, we will develop a large-scale, monumental piece of musical theatre set in a large patch of landscape, combining polyphonic yodeling by large groups of voices, simple ritualistic choreography, animal masks, puppetry, and drama. The feel of the work will be somewhere between immense secular oratorio, pagan ritual, and large-scale puppet theatre. It will be a highly stylized dramatic spectacle, with music developed through a series of workshops in which we will imitate and play with techniques of pygmy yodeling, Swiss Appenzell yodeling, and American hollers. The music will be thick and deep, polyphonic and ecstatic, layers and reams of voices echoing in vowel sounds across the Dorset Ridgeway. That sounds nice, doesn't it?
What?
Sounds nice.
They all sound quite nice.
They're all quite nice. That's the thing. It would have been quite nice.
Could do them all again. I'd be up for working on those.
We could, but if I was going to do this one
But then I
again,
haven't got any money, so.
if I was going to do this one again, I would want to do it as a big sex piece. Because it's like a big version of like Bosch's Garden of Delights, this piece.
Yeah, I don't think you get funding for that.
No. Well, you could get it, but maybe from the dark side of the internet.
From the dark web. I can apply to the dark web.
Where was I?
Hi. In Bitcoin. You want to get it in Bitcoin?
Yeah, funding in Bitcoin. That's where the future is. The different elements of the composition will be workshopped separately, with different groups from across the community, then fitted together in performance like a jigsaw puzzle or collage. This will be tremendously exciting for all involved. I'm going to say that again. This will be tremendously exciting for all involved, hearing the disparate elements that have been rehearsing / developing turn suddenly into a vast spatial composition. But yodeling? The yodel is perhaps a clear portal through time to the earliest sounds made by mankind, a direct guttural response to the position of conscious man in relation to the earth and the universe. The classical tradition of the clean, even voice is a relatively recent tradition, but it has pushed into the background of culture other extended techniques of singing, hollers, yodels, glossolalia, ululations, and so on. Fundamentally, the yodel is the crack that occurs naturally in the voice once it is pushed past a certain boundary. It is the same crack that is heard in the breaking voice of teenage boys or in the plaintive call of Scooby-Dooby-Doo. It permits the human voice to break through a wall of history / culture into something primal and visceral. The vocal techniques, however, will not exclusively focus on yodeling. The music will also reference Western choral music within its fabric, and we will explore ideas with whistling, howling, screeching, cawing, cooing. The drama, staging, and narrative will be an impressionistic, entertaining, and ritualistic take on the history of mankind and civilization. Figures and groups dotted about the landscape, immense puppets, voices rising from behind hills and down in valleys, solitary figures in the distance yodeling at the birds, whilst a torrent of whistling rises slowly from somewhere in the distance. Behind, someone hollers ecstatically from a rock formation, whilst in front, from over the hill, a group of foxes walk forwards, chanting, yodeling, ululating. Animal masks and animal imitations will provide a visual/musical reference throughout. The piece will place mankind within the animal landscape inside the natural world and metamorphose and delve into the medieval idea of the malleability of species, the possibility of metamorphosis, the reality of the lack of separation between man and animal. We will begin with the idea of early man, cavemen, and the idea of the primitive, and through a progression that will run through the entirety of disciplines involved, music, choreography, puppetry, mise en scène, orally and visually portray the growth of civilization. The whole piece will culminate at another fundamental of the human idea/ideal, with a final sequence that sees the Dorset Ridgeway transformed into Bosch's garden of earthly delights, replete with a counterpoint of yodeling and hallelujahs. I have spent the best part of my life producing inventive and entertaining productions across theatre, radio, opera, television, and installation. This project, large in scope and ambition, is a natural continuation and development of styles and approaches from my recent productions, Gargantua and Excessive Entertainment, grandiose and multi-layered work. I'll do this for brackets. And Uoye, Favola and Yodel, one of only 4 existing operas written for yodeling voices. Oh, I didn't know that. No. I bet there's more now. I also,
I don't know.
well,
Probably
maybe not.
not.
Yeah. I also have a wide range of experiences in education and workshop facilitation, and I'm keen to combine these elements to produce this ambitious piece. Gargantua will be an electronic opera in performance, puppetry, collage, and animation, using the work of Francois Rabelais as a starting point for an encyclopedic and hallucinatory odyssey through time, space, war, and human culture.
Gee, that sounds great, Dominic.
Sounds
I'd
all right.
fund that.
Yeah. The work will consolidate and build upon the techniques developed in my previous works for theatre, all of which have been met by widespread critical acclaim and audiences variously enraptured or outraged. It will run across a narrative that uses history and culture as a palette from which it is scary. Yeah. It will run across a narrative that uses history and culture as a palette from which peculiar connections can be wrought. Beginning as a straight adaptation of Rabelais until, mysteriously, King Gargantua disappears, it will then become by turns a detective story, a rumination on the creative process, and a blistering scattershot satire in the mould of Gulliver's Travels. The work's manic and intense fusion of history, literature, music, and imagery, plus the plethora of techniques used in the storytelling, composition, and mise en scène, will be an unforgettable and unique multi-sensory experience for the audience. In common with the majority of my work, the piece will draw from the past through a looking glass, whilst also reaching into the future in search of new creative possibilities.
I love creative.
I love creative possibilities too. We love creative possibilities here. The initial run of the show will tour 5 venues across the UK, including a free workshop on the concept of homemade opera and the possibilities of what opera can be once removed from the opera world. I am also in talks with European partners for a further tour in 2014, after the funded part of this project. I've worked with all the venues and organisers previously on the tour of my opera The Third Policeman in 2011, and also at earlier stages of my career for solo performances, so I have a long-term professional relationships with all the tour partners. I have created art unstoppably since 1990, when I was 10 years old. Since that time, I have created in excess of 300 hours of work for radio, film, stage, installations, television, and albums. I am perpetually at the very edge of exploration in contemporary creative practice, and am constantly expanding and seeking, developing, and creating new forms. My work has been performed all over Europe and broadcast internationally to widespread critical acclaim, including winning awards for my radio art in Germany and Italy. Other project partners are the Bristol-based promoter Q Junctions and the Liverpool-based record label Up It Up Records. Because my work receives very little institutional or funding support in the UK, I am seldom able to present art in this country, and instead work on the continent, where my work is widely supported, particularly in the Netherlands and Germany. Your support for this work, listen how much I have to beg, Your support for this work would enable a spectacular and unique work of thoroughly modern yet entertaining art to be presented to UK audiences and help consolidate the success I received with my last unfunded opera, The Third Policeman. I am constantly working on developing my audience through cross-media projects, performance, internet presence, and radio. My interdisciplinary approach means that my work is enjoyed by a wide range of very different audiences. Opera crowds, the German Hörspiel audiences, avant-garde pop audiences, and so on. My work in electronic opera has brought new audiences to the operatic form. I create operas that refresh and invigorate the form, fundamentally everyman opera with electronic music, untrained singers, and an aesthetic firmly rooted in the 21st century. This will be fundamental to the marketing approach of the work. My entire career, I have worked without an agent or marketing advisor and have become very skilled in the creation of marketing materials like this one, right? Yes. Things change, all right. The world changes.
You can't log into your bank if you don't have a phone.
Hmm?
You can't log into your
bank.
This
is true. You can't log into your bank if you don't have a phone.
If you don't have a phone, you're not allowed to have a bank.
No, exactly. So this is not entirely my fault.
It's fucking. It's so. I want to live in the woods.
Okay.
I might be drunk. Sorry.
It's a fun day. It's a fun day for the artist. Today is a fun day for the artists. No matter what happened, whether they got it or didn't get it, they're all having fun. You know. I hope they are anyway. I hope you are having fun.
Oh, that should be the Arts Council putting the fun in funding.
Yes,
fun in quotations, and then it's not the real point of what we're trying to say.
Anyway, I have become, at this time, whenever this was, I don't know what this is for, Gargantua, this is like 2012 or something like that. I've become very skilled in the creation of marketing materials, visually and textually. In promoting Gargantua, I will be using the following materials. Internet, via my website and blogs, social networking sites, online radio stations, etc. Radio, through my contacts at UK radio stations, including BBC Radio 3, BBC 6 Music, Sound Art Radio, Resonance FM. I will create special mixes from the work to be broadcast in the run-up to the performance. I will also be manufacturing a run of promotional CDs with the most radio-friendly elements of the opera to be sent to DJs who've previously played my work. Print media. I will be sending press releases and related images / audio to both national press and local press in relation to where we are performing. There will be tour advertisements placed in the Wire magazine and in selected local media. Project partners. The different points of the tour are presented in collaboration with local partners who all contribute to the promotion. These are Bridport Arts Centre, Up It Up Records, Q Junctions, The Waiting Room, and Sound Art Radio. Prior to the performance at Sound Art Radio, there will be a public access free workshop which will create direct public engagement with this highly experimental work of art and also create more interest to see the event itself. I'll tell you...
Which one was this?
I think this is Gargantua. But
you've got like 5 organisations behind you, I don't understand. What do they want?
I don't know.
I don't get it.
I don't know what they want.
You're doing like running school stuff and it's all like a big community thing. Why is that bad? I don't understand.
Well, the nice thing about reading these again at this point is that because the focus of arts funding turned to the outreach thing, and the thing is, like, these shows, none of they were like at this point, and that's the reason it's in the applications. But the thing is, these shows still happen just without any money.
Do you think the stuff that they fund is maybe like how to make a mood board on being more employable?
I think it is like that, yeah. Is
it like, I made this about my search for finding a job? I don't know, I can't really... Isn't, what's her name, Rupert Murdoch's daughter on the board or something like that?
Yes, Rupert Murdoch's daughter.
That's when I was applying.
Is on the board of the art.
I didn't really think I would have much luck because I read about that a few months ago and thought, well, that's the end of that then.
Yes. So Rupert Murdoch's daughter is
an artist now.
is on the
She
one
might-
of
you
the
never know, she
one
might
of the
rebel.
leaders, one
She
of
goes
one
to
of
dance.
one of the emperors
Strict.
of the Arts Council. And yesterday, it happened that I made Rupert Murdoch.
Oh shit, that's it. You've made an effigy of her dad.
I made an effigy of her dad,
That's why we got rejected.
and then we got rejected for the funding, didn't we?
I
Yes.
woke up in the middle of the night and I was looking over there and I was terrified. So that was probably why. It was because we made an effigy of her father. That's it.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Shit.
Oh no.
That's alright, he gets to be in an opera now.
Yeah, this is true. Rupert Murdoch doesn't get to be in operas very much.
He really wants to, though. That was always his dream.
Yeah, that is what he was just trying to draw an interesting path to this. Making it happen. This work has been in slow development over the last 2 years. That's a lie. Oh, no, it's not. This is Gargantua. Yeah, this is true. It has taken that time for the narrative outline to reach a satisfactory point where I'm ready to begin writing, and also to assemble the correct creative team for the project. Prior to this activity, I have managed a wide range of large-scale artistic activities, including a 15-hour radio play created with artists across the globe, 2 tours of electronic operas in the UK and Europe, and a record label. My approach is unorthodox and has art rather than business as the central fulcrum, although over time I have become an adept, an imaginative businessman, curator, and organizer. Sort of true. The main stages of the activity are October 2012, writing of the libretto. This is the stage where every element is planned. Text, music, video, performance, effects, and puppetry. This will include 2 days working closely with project consultant Simon Matthewson, who will intervene intermittently throughout the project's development. He is someone who I trust to advise on my work. November 2012, composition of the music. I will be using a variety of approaches, including cross-reference sampling, so the music informs and reflects the story, electronics, the hacking of electronics / circuit bending, manipulation of mechanical musical instruments, recording of instruments. There will also be conventionally scored elements which will be played live by the actors. December 2012, creation of 2 video streams. The show runs with 2 simultaneous streams, one a back projection and the other a front projection. It took me fucking 5 years. 5 years to get 2 projections in a project, I tell you. From that date, it took me 5 years just to get 2 projectors. That's all I wanted, 2 projectors. 5 years. Anyway, the video acts as both scenery and storytelling, building on approaches I invented in my opera, The Third Policeman, and will use a mixture of paper and object collage animation. Examples of my collage works are included in supporting evidence and archive footage. January to February 2013, construction and building of mise-en-scène, puppets, costumes, special effects, working closely with Martha Moupette on the development of marionettes, shadow puppets, illusions based on a combination of Victorian stage magic and digital art, large-scale props and special effects, including box-sprung explosions of debris and a giant baby. March 2013, 1 intensive week of rehearsal with performers Elvis Herod and Monkton Wild. Monkton was going to be in it. And choreographer Nicky Mathewson, followed immediately by 1 week of tour. Finance. The artist fees are based on discussions with all contributing artists and the amount of time involved. The money for travel includes return train travel for Elvis Herod from the northeast of England and to Bridport for Monkton Wild for rehearsals, and petrol/van for the duration of the tour. It is necessary for this project to hire a rehearsal space as my workshop is too fucking small. Marketing money is for placement of ads in the Wire magazine and selected local press near the tour venues. Pressing a run of CDs of the most radio-friendly parts of the opera to be distributed to DJs on UK national radio in the run-up to the tour. Printing of postcards, posters and flyers, postage. Materials money is to cover the manufacture of marionettes, shadow puppets, a plethora of visual effects, construction of a giant baby puppet, 2 box-sprung explosions, 2 foldable projection surfaces, and a Pepper's ghost. The project has been confirmed for $2,500 of funding from PRS Foundation. I have estimated an income of £1,000 for ticket sales across the tour based on past experience. This may not seem a lot for a 1-week tour, but I'm keen to keep ticket prices low, in the region of £5, to increase accessibility for audiences. No.
None of them want actual accessibility.
No.
They say they do, but they don't. They do other things. So good person.
All venues/promoters have agreed to a 50-50 door split arrangement. I am an uncompromising judge of my own work and will settle for nothing less than structural perfection in what I am making. Though I often use chance operations in the creative process, and though my work is often referred to as mad or similar adjectives, there is nothing random or scattershot about my work. Every single element in this wild ride of a piece, down to the finest detail, will be considered closely. The project consultant, Simon Mathewson, who with a wide range of knowledge in art, literature, film and music, I trust intrinsically to tell the truth about issues and connections in the piece, will also be monitoring the progress of the work and feeding back to me anything that might come up. The rest of the creative team will also feed back to me about the project. This is the person, incidentally, who I think deleted loads of my work from the Free Music Archive. The person who twice I have said I trust intrinsically with my work. Well, more fool me, Simon Mathewson. I will consider this project an artistic success if it is intense, unforgettable, challenging, entertaining piece of innovative multimedia music theater that puts history into a melting pot and blows it up like fireworks. The response of the audience to the piece will, of course, also factor in the final evaluation. My work in general receives strong responses one way or the other, receiving passionate enthusiasm mixed with sometimes unreasonable hatred. I'm interested in provoking reactions by making art that is genuinely new and constantly surprising. In terms of audience figures, I do anticipate a high turnout to the shows on tour. I am good at marketing and promoting events, as are, of course, the promoters themselves at the individual venues. Finally, I aim for this project to be an intense period of exploration, learning, and development for all the artists involved, where we will push our ideas and respective practices to the very limit. The project I'm applying for is an opera based on Flann O'Brien's absurdist masterpiece, The Third Policeman. The opera will be performed by a cast of maverick artists, comedians and songwriters, making innovative use of cross-pollinating antique and modern technologies, with the music performed by on-stage instruments, mechanical music contraptions, bicycle-powered record players, and homemade instruments. The Third Policeman will be a truly 21st century artwork, an odyssey through an absurdist hell. The opera will premiere at Tete, the Opera Festival in London, August 2011, with performances afterwards at Up It Up Records, Liverpool, Sound Art Radio Dartington, who will broadcast the performance, Shut Up Club Saltburn and Bridport Literary Festival. Performances will be preceded by free workshops with participants exploring the world of the opera through interaction with the sound-making devices, creating their own musical compositions using unique musical tools. Partners are Care in the Community Recordings, who are contributing cash match funding, and PVA Media Lab, who are contributing research space and facilities for the experimental procedures involved. This, in addition to the venue partners listed above, all of whom I've long-term professional relationships with in various capacities. Literary rights for the project have been arranged.
What?
Literary rights for the project have been arranged with A.M. Heath Limited, who have agreed the rights for a 10% cut of the box office takings. This project is deeply important to my creative development. It gives me the opportunity to vastly expand my practice as a composer of opera. I have been developing a way of writing and presenting operas that is entirely separate from the high culture usually associated with opera. I am trying to make opera that is the antithesis of the rich man's opera, bringing the art form to a wide audience and opening up the possibilities of the medium to them. In general, my music is recorded, with live performances tending to either be played to backing tracks from a computer. That's an unfinished sentence. The third policeman will transform this tendency. Listen to this. I noticed this earlier on. You know, I'm going to put, because no fuckers watching right now. The last person just left, whoever it was. Do you want some more wine? We can have a little pause.
No, I think you should just keep it rolling.
I'm keeping it rolling, but do you want some more wine?
Yeah, I've drunk quite a lot of wine.
Me too.
The fact is, everyone's watching football.
It is Christmas. Everyone's watching the football.
Everyone's watching football. Nobody cares about funding.
They could be watching this.
It's the worst day to get a funding rejection is on the day of
the day of the football.
But
I'm going. I'm gonna go down to the bottom of the document. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through.
Okay. It's a long document.
But check this out. This was the plan of the third policeman. The third policeman will transform this tendency, the music being transmitted using one, the guts of an old pianola, still got that,
oh, wow.
Modified with sound-making devices on the back, hooked up to a bellows which will play elements of the score created using MIDI, then transferred to the piano rolls using a system which will be created for this project by programmer hacker James Wilkes. 2. Bicycles attached to old record players and amplifiers which will be pedalled by the cast to play parts of the score, which will be cut to vinyl dub plates. These contraptions will be built by Chris Booth and Lucinda Guy from Sound Art Radio, who have previously ran workshops on the subject. 3. Homemade instruments. Absurdist instruments to be blown, hit and bowed, made from things found in junk shops and charity shops in Bridport. 4. On-stage instruments. I have assembled a remarkable cast for this opera where every performer is an accomplished actor, singer, and multi-instrumentalist. On stage will be musical saws, accordions, ukuleles, banjos, and harmoniums. Visually, the opera will reference nods to the visual techniques of Yuri Norstein. The set will consist mainly of the aforementioned sound-making devices, with the mise-en-scène projected onto a white background at the back of the performance space. As mentioned above, part of the aim of my operatic works is to... I've been saying this for years in this document.
Yeah.
As mentioned above, part of the aim of my operatic works is to help bring a new understanding of the medium by making new works to reinvent the genre, taking it completely out of the opera house, the world of excessive ticket prices, and removing opera from its place on the social artistic hierarchy hierarchy. This is a very personal mission for me. I composed my first opera at 12 years old, but have seldom been able to afford to go and see any myself. I think I hadn't gone and seen any. The premiere at Tete, the Opera Festival, is an ideal starting point, a festival which prides itself on radicalism and experimentalism. The following performances are all even more unconventional places for an opera: an electronic music night, a radio station, a literary festival, and a comedy club. In this way, the opera will reach a distinct and different audience at every show, many of whom will be experiencing live opera for the first time. All performances will be presented at affordable prices, all under £10, or in the case of the Bridport performance, completely free of charge. The nature of the opera is that it can be played fundamentally in any space, indoors or outdoors, provided there are electricity points in range, and for the future of the work I envision performing it in ever more diverse spaces. The workshops before each performance also provide accessibility for engagement, all being completely free of charge, providing direct access to the music making in unconventional and very experimental ways. The opera will be promoted through the following means. Online. I have a large audience online with whom I keep in touch through my website, blog, and Twitter. I will also be setting up a special blog dedicated to the work's development, documenting the project from inception to premiere. The performance venues will also promote the work through their online presence. Care in the Community and PVA Media Lab, the other project partners, will also make information available online about the project. Print. Over the past 10 years, I have realized that there is not much use in buying print advertising unless you buy a lot of it over a prolonged period. Here, all print advertising will be through press release for previews and reviews. The tour venues also have their own print runs, including posters, flyers, and brochures. Finally, during the course of creating the opera, Up It Up Records will release a free online album of experimental works from the recording sessions. This will constitute a separate release whilst raising awareness of the opera. The figures in the budget for fee reflect the time put into the project by the artists, and all fees have been discussed with each artist. They ended up doing it for €350 each, which is all we had left at the end of it. But there was such a bunch of nice guys, really nice guys. The equipment and materials budget are self-explanatory. The travel budget is based around petrol and also the hire of a van for each performance, also factoring in travelling expenses for artists in the creative process. For example, Rob Henderson to get from Northeast England to Bridport, and for Eric Bumbledonk to get from the Northeast to London for the premiere on the coach, and all artists to Bridport for the rehearsal period. All travel will be, as far as is possible, booked in advance to get the cheapest possible routes. The advance to AM Heath Limited is a 10% cut of projected box office takings. The ticket sales in match funding are approximate, based on discussions with the respective venues. The figures are not high because I'm keen to keep ticket costs low. The remaining match funding comes from Care in the Community Recordings, the record label I'm signed to. I will consider this project successful if the end result is a vital, innovative, and highly original piece of contemporary opera that is fresh and accessible to a wide audience. Part of the aim of this piece is fundamentally to begin the process of reinventing opera and the wider public's perception of it. So after the performance, some of the performers will conduct vox pops with audience members to gauge their reactions. I want audiences to experience this opera almost without thinking of it as an opera, but as an eccentric and innovative piece of entertainment. I aim to remove the cultural baggage of the medium. The whole process of the opera, including the evaluative materials such as the vox pops mentioned above, will be documented on the aforementioned Third Policeman blog, giving opportunity for interactive evaluation from the outset. I aim to continue presenting this work after the initial funded part of the project across the UK and into Europe. Overall, I aim at the end of the funded part of the project to have an innovative and enjoyable work of art, and I will provide full documentation materials and a written evaluation at the end. Over the past 20 years, I've developed a reputation as one of the UK's leading underground artists across music, theatre, opera, installations, radio plays, collage and performance under my name and as Ergo Phizmiz. My work has been presented at Tate Modern, Hay Festival, BBC Radio 3, by Richard Rundfunk, WDR Worm, WFMU, the Royal Festival Hall, Café Oto, Deplayer, Resonance FM and many others. I have lectured on my practice at Geneva School of Art, Tilburg Art School and the University of Plymouth, and my work has been featured in publications including The Guardian, The Times, The New Statesman, and The Wire magazine. My radio plays, which broadcast regularly in Germany, including Hollywood A Bestiary, Conversations with Birds, and Animalium Kepler 2b, have won awards at the Prix Italia and the Deutsche Akademie der Darstellenden Kunst. My works for multimedia music theatre have included The Morning Show 2010, Fulcanelli's Shoes, UK Tour 2011, The Third Policeman, UK and Europe Tour 2012, Gala, Commission for Tete Opera 2013, Gargantua, UK Tour 2013, UOIA, The Histories of Yodeling 2014, The United Kingdom of Earth, Worm Rotterdam 2016, and Mozart vs. Machine, Mahogany Opera Group 2017. My most recent project is a collaboration with the Cleveland Symphony Orchestra. Artists I've collaborated with include people like us, Goody Pal, R. Stevie Moore, Christian Marclay, Frankie Boyle, Lucas Simonis, Peter Fengler, Patrick Sims, Margita Zalit, and Frederick Wake Walker. And Lottie Bowater, who is here in the background editing Laurence Osborn's The Mother for Mahogany Opera Group, really quick because we got to pay the rent because we got both rejected for our Arts Council things. But anyway, this is nearly finished. You're at the end, so if you're here, you might as well stay because I've been doing this for fucking ages and it's nearly the end, right? The vast majority of my work has been 100% independently produced and often self-financed. Consequently, I am also highly experienced on an arts production managerial level, having negotiated and managed multiple theatre and music tours from across the UK and Europe. To develop a large-scale cross-media piece on torture, trauma, disaster capitalism and the history of music called, working title, St. Joan in Guantanamo Bay, expanding on my past 25 years as an independent creator of experimental approaches to opera. The work would be intensive collisions of theatre, electronic music, projections, magic, text, collage, and stagecraft, all developed simultaneously. I want to continue to explore how narratives can develop through the interplay of media, how the elements of audio-visual storytelling can be reflected upon each other across visual space and history. The project is also a further exploration of the notion that the 21st century opera is a new medium, only distantly related to Tosca and her friends, that opera is the part meat space, part digital Gesamtkunstwerk that may be a logical endpoint of all internet age art, grand booths of information that potentially contain everything. The project will be created both through private work and collaborations with an actor, singer and technician in a home studio context, rehearsal spaces, and through a residency at the Britain Peers Foundation, who have invited me to work in their space in Aldborough to develop this new work. This development grant would enable the development process to be followed by a separately financed production and tour. The work would also be, the work would be developed semi-publicly with regular web updates on my blog and social networks. Many of the multimedia theatre techniques I've invented have been a response to difficult situations, cutting corners creatively, etc. This has, of course, been a great learning curve, but with recent health issues relating to seizures, mental health and autism, I have been forced to adjust my working patterns to more manageable methods. The exception to this rule of chaos was my opera, Mozart vs. Machine, which was developed over a number of years with Mahogany Opera Group and a sound and music embedded residency. The luxury of time was of great benefit to the piece and to my work in general. The opportunity to reflect upon the writing process, creating a far more dense, more detailed world that resulted in a show that toured the UK to great success in 2017, with a world tour coming in 2019. This project will enable me the time to develop this piece in similar detail, focusing entirely on the creation of the piece with a view to moving on to the performance/production stages in late 2019-2020. I have a large network of venues in the UK and internationally who are always keen to present my new work. My reputation as a maverick artist who works under arduous circumstances has done much, in my opinion, to undercut the quality of what I'm capable of producing. And this grant provides me the opportunity to really create a piece that plumbs the potential possibilities 21st century music theatre, redefining opera for the future. And so that kind of that kind of plumbs the not plumbs the depths, but that was about 7,500 words. That scratches the surface of my funding applications that have been rejected in the last 15 years. This could have been a much longer performance, but I decided to be merciful. It's been nearly an hour, and well done anyone who
Trying to read mine.
stayed with us any length of time. You want to? Oh yes.
Mine was pretty short.
We have a encore in the form of Lottie's freshly rejected. That was my freshly rejected one at the climax of this one.
Oh, I was just going to read what they wrote.
Oh, you were going to give the... Oh, well.
I was just going to read, like, after all that.
Oh, yeah, so like an epilogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you...
The rejection letter. It's in submission. If you haven't used it, it's the
worst
website.
To make their website.
Yes. It's the worst.
Mine? It's very short. It's fine. It's very short.
Well, this is the internet. It should be long.
Your application was not successful mainly because star asterisk or whatever other applications preferred. On balance, we preferred other applications on this occasion.
On balance.
So that's I figured it was quite short.
At least they weighed it up.
On balance.
Yeah. Careful thought about lots of different factors.
I think just leave it at that. On balance.
On balance. It's nice to know society is balanced.
It's all right. England.
Arts Council England.
England.
Goodbye, everybody. I love you. NIBIRU. This is also marketing. This is marketing.
NIBIRU.
NIBIRU is on at RADA Studios. Our wonderful new show is on at RADA Studios on the 7th of August as part of the wonderful, and like I said in there, radical, and they pride themselves on radical and experimentalism, Tete, the opera festival, who just keep having me back. They're very nice. And we're showing NIBIRU at RADA Studios.
I'm NIBIRU.
This is the Happy Celestial Bowl.
we'll probably put this at the beginning as well, though, right? So it doesn't not with the text or something, and then put it on the internet. That's all fine. Then you can see at the beginning as well.
It's the internet
That's
that
what we were talking
we
about
can
at
be
the beginning.
structurally free. You know, all our options are open online.
I've got the fear.
Yeah. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Fund me. And Lottie.
And fun.
Fund us both. I've got an effigy of Rupert Murdoch.
Fun.
I've got an effigy of Rupert Murdoch.
Fun.
Like that.